Hey everyone, it's time for an unusual story. Some people will do anything for love. Today, a cheater likes to hide things in plain sight. My wife posed her lover as her brother and cheated on me, so I disgraced her in front of her family. I'm 32, a guy who's been married to my wife for over a year. I know it's just a year of marriage, yet here I am telling my story. I met my wife around 3 years ago. For privacy's sake, I'll call her Jessica, 28. When I first met her, she was new to the city, struggling to make a career. She wanted to become a fashion designer in Hollywood, but her parents didn't approve of her profession because of Hollywood's not-so-decent reputation. Besides, they wanted her to join their family business. Instead of hopping into a job to prove her point, Jessica moved to California and joined a company as a fashion intern. I'm in the advertising industry, and my job includes onboarding fashion design companies to design clothes for ads. That's how I met Jessica. Although she was new to her company, her manager used to tag her along during briefing sessions because she was really sharp. After a few months, Jessica single-handedly dealt with our company, and that's when we started seeing each other. It started off as professional meetings and eventually turned into romantic dates. I was impressed by Jessica's charisma and resilience. She fought with her parents, almost got abandoned by them, and left her hometown because she chose her passion. We had to keep our relationship hidden because her company had a no-relationship policy with clients. After 6 months of her internship, she switched to a better-paying full-time role in a different company. After her job switch, we decided to keep our personal and professional relationships separate because it might cost us our jobs, but we moved in together and officially started dating. Jessica had no friends in the city except for her colleagues from her past and current company, so she mostly tagged along with my friends. She was friendly, smart, and had a great sense of humor. She became a part of our friend group in no time. It was so fun to be around Jessica that I never had a second thought about her. After 2 years of dating, I proposed to Jessica. She gladly said yes, but was also worried about not having her parents on board. The thing is, her family is conservative Christian while I'm not at all. Hence, she was worried that her parents would be upset about it. They were already not happy with her career choice. I took her to meet my parents first to make her feel comfortable. My parents adored her. I assured her I would try my best to convince her parents, but she said she would handle it. Although my parents insisted that we have a joint dinner for both families, Jessica said it was best that her parents directly come for the wedding. I left the decision to her because she knew her family the best. My mother found this weird, but I assured her everything would be fine. During the wedding preps, I asked Jessica if she wanted to have the wedding in the traditional way as it happens in her family, but she said that we could have it the way we wanted. As Jessica said, her parents arrived on the day of the wedding. I was prepared for tough conversations with them, but surprisingly, her parents were sweet. According to Jessica's account, I imagined them to be conservative, sulky, and rude, but they were nothing like that. On the contrary, they were very polite and gentle with everyone. My mother was relieved to find them so warm. I lauded Jessica for doing a great job at convincing her parents about the wedding, but she didn't acknowledge it much, and we could discuss this later. After the wedding, I asked if she wanted to visit her parents, because she had never returned to her hometown after leaving it for her career. She said that she was running hectic at work and would visit them when the workload subsided. 5 months ago, I had to visit Tokyo for work purposes. It was a 4-day trip, but I got it extended for a week to explore the city. It was all fine, and Jessica knew about it ever since it was planned. However, on the day I was supposed to leave, she said she would be bored alone for a week, hence she would fly down to meet her parents. I felt weird at her sudden plan. Besides, I wanted to accompany her to her hometown, but since I was leaving for a week, I could not tell her anything. During those 5 days, we remained almost distant. I was busy at work and exploring the new city, and I thought she was busy with her family as she had met them after so many years. When we both returned, I told her I wanted to visit her family because I had not met any of them except for her parents, whom I met for just a few hours. She said that we could plan it next time. A few weeks after her return, she said she wanted to share something with me. It was about her brother. I was surprised because she had never talked about her brother earlier during our dating phase. When I asked about her family, she told me that she had a brother, but she also said they were not on good terms. When I didn't find her brother at the wedding, I asked her, but she said that they were not that close, and he might be taking care of the family business in her father's absence. Jessica revealed that her brother was gay, and when her conservative family got to know about this, they took him to therapy to make him straight. I raised my eyebrow at this revelation. Jessica explained that she lived in a small town where people still considered homosexuality to be a mental illness, and her parents were ultra-conservative. After several years of therapy, when her brother continued to be gay, her parents disowned him. That was why they wanted Jessica to take over the family business. Her brother didn't take his family's abandonment well and found solace in drugs. He spiraled into addiction so severely that he ended up in rehab. That was the reason her brother was missing from our wedding. I was disappointed that she hadn't told me about all this before. She sobbed, saying she feared I would judge her for her family's background. Jessica said that when she visited her hometown this time, she found out her brother was out of rehab. Since his family didn't want him, he was living alone. Jessica feared he might relapse out of frustration and loneliness, so she asked him to move to California. She asked me if he could stay with us for some time until he got a job and a place for himself. I agreed because our apartment had a spare room used only to pile up courier boxes and discarded items. A couple of weeks after this discussion, Jessica's brother Michael arrived. He is a year younger than Jessica, hence she's protective of her baby brother. He was a timid guy. I thought his self-confidence had shrunk due to his disturbing past. He didn't talk to me much and was always cooped up in his room or went outside whenever I was home. It's been more than 2 months since he's been here. Jessica has been pulling all her contacts to get him a job. I see him going for interviews some days, but he hasn't had any luck yet. I don't want to sound evil, but his presence is bothering me now. And Jessica's behavior has also changed since he moved in. She acts more like his elder sister than my wife. Her world seems to revolve around Michael. Initially, I thought she was just taking care of him, but eventually, I started feeling uneasy about it. Michael's behavior also looks pretty shady to me. It's either that he's still into drugs, or maybe he's hiding something even more grave. Last week, I asked Jessica if we could plan a trip to her hometown. She said she was busy this month. She also said that I shouldn't tell her parents that Michael was living with us. When I asked why not, she said that her parents had disowned him, and they wouldn't like that I was siding with him. I was confused by her logic. She said her parents had finally accepted her career and were happy with her. Hence, she didn't want to destroy the relationship by talking about Michael. The reason why I'm here is because this entire situation sounds shady. If this wasn't enough, I find them very secretive lately. I realized they changed the topic whenever I entered the living room or kitchen. I even heard them talking in whispers, and when I entered, they started talking normally. I confronted Jessica about this, but she told me they were discussing Michael's relapse in therapy, which he is embarrassed to talk about in front of me. I spoke to my colleague yesterday, and he said I was just jealous because Jessica's attention got divided. Hence, I'm apprehensive about sharing this with others or confronting Jessica. I want to know a neutral perspective from this community. Let me know if I missed any crucial information. I'll be online for the rest of the evening and look forward to catching up on the comment section. Update 1. Hi all. Thanks for the advice on the last post. Some of you sent me stories of other men whose wives cheated on them by posing their lovers as their brothers, and that hit me hard. It was something beyond imaginable. Instead of jumping to conclusions, I started digging into it. I started by checking his ID. I wish I had done that earlier. A few days after my first post, I suddenly walked into the living room where Jessica and Michael were sitting. I asked Michael if he had any luck with the interviews yet. They both were taken by surprise because I never used to ask these personal questions. He stammered for a while and said he was in talks with several recruiters, but nothing had panned out yet. I told him my friend needed a supervisor for his office and was looking for someone reliable, so I wanted to refer Michael for that role. Someone looking for a job would have jumped in excitement with this news, but their expression was more of shock than excitement. Without giving them any opportunity to think further, I asked for his resume. Jessica jumped in and said she would share it in some time, but I insisted that I needed it right away. Jessica's pushback confirmed my doubts about them. After a few exchanges between Jessica and me, Michael shared the soft copy of his resume with me. I immediately opened it in front of them and checked for his name. My doubts turned out to be true. Although his name was still Michael, his surname was different from Jessica's maiden name. I subtly asked him about this. Before Michael could say anything, Jessica said that since their parents had disowned him, he had changed his surname. I was ready for this BS anyway. Until then, I thought this sister-brother duo was up to something, but after this revelation, it was doubtful whether they were really siblings or not. So after a week, I told Jessica that I was traveling to a place near her hometown for work, and if she was free, she could join me, and we could visit her parents' house. I deliberately gave her short notice so it was easier for her to say no. As expected, she said she was busy, but she kept asking me if I would be visiting her parents. I said no, I wouldn't visit them alone. We can plan for the next time. In reality, I had no work trip. I went to her hometown only to meet her parents and uncover her truth. I don't want to get into the details of how I sourced their address. It was on her ID. So I went to their house and immediately told them not to reveal this to Jessica because I was planning a surprise for her. Jessica's birthday was around the corner, a day after tomorrow, so I told them that I was arranging a surprise party for Jessica and went there to invite them in person. They were pleased to receive me. While speaking to them, I eventually opened up and told them that they didn't seem conservative at all, like Jessica had described. They laughed, thinking it was a joke. Then I started probing them about their faith, and to my surprise, it turned out they were not conservative at all. I then started asking about their business. I kept it subtle so as not to raise any suspicions. Her father said that he intended to retire from his company next year and take it easy in life. I grabbed the opportunity and asked him how his business would run after his retirement. He said his son was already handling the business quite well and was best suited to be his heir. I saw Jessica's mother getting uncomfortable with this, so I tried to divert to another topic, but her father went on to say, "I wanted to be fair between both my children. That's why I urged Jessica to join the business. That way both the brother and sister would have an equal share of the business. As Ryan is my son from my first marriage, Jessica and my wife are insecure that he would not give the business share to her. Since you're family now, I'm telling you that I'll be fair with both of my children." He said something further about being unhappy with Jessica's career choice, but by then, I had zoned out after hearing his son's name was Ryan. I was choking from inside and wanted to breathe, so I cut him off in the middle and said that once they came for Jessica's birthday, they could sit and sort out the differences. I didn't get to meet Ryan, but I saw him in the family pictures in their hallway. While leaving, I again reminded them not to tell Jessica that I had visited them. It was supposed to be a surprise. They happily nodded. I felt so disgusted knowing that Jessica was indeed having a lover in my house, posing him as her brother. I went to meet them on Saturday, so it was almost a week before Jessica's birthday, which was on Thursday. I felt so uneasy sharing the house with her that I never returned home after meeting her parents. She called me on Sunday, asking when I would return. I told her my work got extended and I would be back only on Thursday morning. I'm currently put up in a hotel until then. I know she and her lover are having a honeymoon period in my absence, but I don't care. I just want to expose and humiliate her in front of her parents. I'm already in talks with a lawyer to process the divorce. In fact, I had an appointment with him a few hours before I made this update. I'll make another update once I expose that crap. Update 2. So I'm finally divorced. I know it took a while to make an update, but I wanted to wrap up everything and update it all at once. For people who commented that I ignored all the red flags when they were clearly displayed all over my face, the thing is, I didn't notice or take any of it as absurd when it was happening. It sounded weird only when I retrospect the incidents after Michael's arrival. If you look at any solo event, it doesn't look shady. Only when everything gets added up does it sound obvious. And now everyone is taunting me that I was a simp to ignore it. Cool, moving on. As I mentioned, I invited Jessica's parents for her birthday on Thursday. I went home on the same day she was home. I felt so awful seeing her face that I didn't even wish her a happy birthday. She thought I had forgotten. Trying to sound cute, she hugged me and asked me to wish her. I played along and wished her. She said that I should take her out to celebrate her birthday. I said that I was tired and wanted to take a shower first. By the time I came out of the shower, she was already dressed up and ready to go out. I pretended to ignore her and went to bed. She played out her cute self, yelling at me to dress up and take her out. I said that I was having a terrible headache and needed a nap. I asked her to wait for a couple of hours. She got upset, but I assured her the wait would be worth it. I wasn't sleepy at all. I was, in fact, heavy-hearted, anticipating the confrontation that was just about to happen. An hour later, I got a call from Jessica's father. They were just about to arrive. I barely got out of bed and went outside. On my way out, I saw Jessica and Michael talking and cooking in the kitchen. She even asked me where I was going in such a hurry. I said that there was a courier outside, and I was going to collect it. I went outside and waited for a few minutes before I saw them. Jessica's parents arrived, looking excited and eager to see their daughter. They had brought a beautifully wrapped gift and were discussing how happy they were that I had thought to include them in this surprise. As we walked back into the house together, I could feel my heart racing. Jessica's expression shifted from surprise to confusion, and then to outright panic when she saw her parents walking in behind me. She quickly composed herself, putting on a bright smile, but I could see the tension in her eyes. We all sat down in the living room. Her parents were effusive, thanking me repeatedly for the invitation and expressing how much they looked forward to spending the day with Jessica. She, on the other hand, was visibly on edge, casting quick, nervous glances at me. I decided to break the ice and said, "I thought it would be a good idea for us all to celebrate together since it's been so long since you all saw each other." Jessica's mother beamed, saying, "Yes, it's such a wonderful surprise. We were just saying how we missed having family gatherings." Her father nodded in agreement, adding, "It's nice to see you two doing so well." At this point, Michael walked into the room, carrying a tray with drinks. Jessica introduced him rather stiffly as her friend who was helping with the birthday preparations. Her parents seemed a bit puzzled but didn't question it. Michael looked uncomfortable but tried to play along, offering everyone a drink. As we all sat there chatting, I could sense the growing unease in the room. I decided it was time to start unraveling the truth. I turned to Jessica's father and said, "Sir, you mentioned last time that Jessica had been helping with the family business. How has that been going?" He smiled and started talking about the business again, unaware of the storm brewing. As he spoke, I watched Jessica's reaction. She was growing more and more tense, her smile becoming increasingly strained. Finally, I couldn't hold back any longer. I interrupted him gently and said, "Actually, there's something else I need to discuss with all of you." Jessica's face turned pale. "What is it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I took a deep breath and said, "I found out some things during my visit to your parents' house, Jessica. Things about our relationship and certain truths you've been hiding." Her parents looked confused, and Michael froze, the color draining from his face. Jessica tried to interrupt, but I held up a hand. "Let me finish," I said firmly. "Jessica, you lied to me about your family and about Michael. He's not just a friend, is he? You've been pretending he's your brother while carrying on an affair behind my back." Her parents gasped in shock. Jessica's mother covered her mouth with her hand, tears welling up in her eyes. Her father looked like he had been punched in the gut. Jessica's face was a mask of horror and disbelief. Michael looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. The room was deathly silent for a moment before Jessica's father found his voice. "Is this true, Jessica? Have you been lying to us all this time?" Jessica burst into tears, unable to speak. Her mother started crying too, and her father looked at me with a mixture of anger and sorrow. "Why didn't you tell us sooner?" he demanded. I explained how I had wanted to give Jessica a chance to come clean, but she never did. I also told them about my plans to file for divorce and how I had already consulted a lawyer. "I wanted to confront her in front of you so you could see the truth for yourselves," I said. Jessica's father nodded, looking utterly defeated. "Thank you for telling us," he said quietly. "I'm so sorry this happened to you." Jessica was sobbing uncontrollably by now, and Michael stood there awkwardly, unsure of what to do. I felt a strange sense of relief, having finally exposed the truth. It was painful, but it was also liberating. I knew there was a long road ahead, but at least now I could begin to move forward, free from the lies and deceit that had plagued my life for so long. I greeted them and took them inside. That was the moment. It was not only a moment of shock and despair for Jessica and her lover, but her parents were equally shocked. They hadn't known about Michael. Jessica looked at me, asking for an explanation. I said, "Oh, Ryan didn't come. It would have made things easier, wouldn't it?" Her father gave a disgusted look at Jessica and asked her what Michael was doing at her house. She started sobbing by then. I sarcastically said, "Why are you saying this? Isn't he supposed to be your son?" Jessica begged me to stop. Michael wanted to leave, but I stopped him by his shoulder and told him to sit. Her mother insisted on knowing the truth, so I told her everything. Michael and Jessica were frozen in shock. Her parents gave a despised look at them. Her father turned towards me and asked if I knew everything. I said no. I got to know the truth when I visited them. He went on to reveal everything which was left uncovered. He said that Michael was Jessica's boyfriend from college, and he had always been a drug addict and a bum, sucking on Jessica's pocket money. Hence, they had to cut off giving any money to Jessica. They wanted her to join the business so that they could track her expenses, but Jessica chose to fund her boyfriend, so she left the house and took up a job. When Michael's addiction reached its peak, his parents admitted him to rehab. Jessica could not bear the loneliness and moved to California, and that's when we met and got married. Her parents said they were really happy when they got to know that she was marrying me. They thought she had moved on from Michael, but there she was, sitting with him in my house. I looked at Jessica and asked if all this restarted when she visited her parents during my Tokyo trip. She looked at me with a straight face and said yes. She admitted that she kept me away from her family because she feared her past getting uncovered. She admitted that she had moved on from Michael while she was with me, but when she got to know that Michael was back from rehab, she could not control herself and went to meet him. During the meeting, Michael convinced her that he was a changed man and urged her to divorce me. Jessica could not take that risk right away unless Michael got a job, so they both planned the entire thing. It was true that Jessica was not on good terms with her stepbrother Ryan, and hence she used that opportunity to pose Michael as her brother in front of me. Michael interrupted, saying he never liked the plan of staying in my house, but Jessica forced him to. Her father was so disheartened that she lied so much about them and portrayed them as villains just to have her boyfriend. The situation got so bad that her father choked Michael by his collar and dragged him out of the house while Jessica pleaded with him to stop. I just kept staring at her, seeing how smartly she was playing her game. Her parents apologized to me for everything. I told them they need not be sorry for what Jessica had done. I also informed them that I was going to file for divorce and Jessica needed to leave the house right away. Jessica didn't resist. She silently went inside the room to pack her belongings, but her father was not in the mood to take her with them. He stood up, saying that she had created this mess, and now she had to bear it. While leaving, he told Jessica that her drugged boyfriend had cost her everything good she had in life. They left the house without Jessica. Soon after they left, Jessica also left. She didn't look at me or say anything. She just lowered her gaze and walked away. I don't know if I should feel good for taking my revenge by humiliating her, or if I should feel bad for her misery. A month ago, my lawyer called her to check the address at which the divorce papers needed to be shipped. She said that she would visit his office and collect them. My lawyer informed me that she arrived at his office an hour later. As soon as he handed over the papers to her, she just glanced at the terms and immediately signed in front of him, handed back the papers, and left. A week ago, we were presented before the magistrate for the divorce finalization. She was alone, looking miserable, and was quiet during the entire trial. In the end, when she was questioned, she affirmed agreeing to my terms. Actually, I didn't have a lot of property and wealth that she would have fought over. The house we were living in was also rented. Since she was working, I was not asked for alimony. In fact, I was being considerate in not charging her with alimony for cheating and fraud. Our divorce was finalized uncontested. I know I'll get a lot of heat for letting her slip so easily. The thing is, she had already lost everything: her marriage, her family, her dignity. There was nothing left with her to be destroyed. Jessica had always been a strong, independent woman. She had a successful career in marketing and was well respected among her peers. Her colleagues often admired her ability to handle tough clients and challenging projects with ease. Yet behind the confident facade, Jessica had her insecurities, especially when it came to her personal life. Her relationship with Michael had been a whirlwind romance. He was charming, adventurous, and unpredictable, the complete opposite of her stable and routine-oriented lifestyle. Initially, this contrast had excited her, but over time it became the source of her downfall. Yesterday, her mother called me, asking about the divorce status. I told her that it was over. She cried, saying she heard that Michael had again started taking drugs and she feared he would destroy her daughter and take her down the path of drugs and crime along with him. Jessica's mother, Margaret, had always been a pillar of strength in her life. Margaret was a retired school teacher, known for her wisdom and compassionate nature. She had raised Jessica with strong values and had high hopes for her future. Hearing her voice crack with concern and helplessness was heart-wrenching. She also said her father had disowned Jessica from the will, fearing that she would shower all his hard-earned money on that drug addict, Michael. Jessica's father, Richard, was a stern and principled man. A former military officer, he valued discipline and honor above all else. Jessica had always sought his approval, and his decision to disown her must have been a crushing blow. I empathized with her and hung up, asking her to take care. I wonder how someone can be so stupid as to love someone to the extent of losing everything. If a woman like Jessica, who was so intelligent and sharp, could be so stupid to fall for Michael, there's nothing much left to talk about others. Michael, on the other hand, was a classic case of wasted potential. He had once been a promising artist, with a keen eye for beauty and a talent for capturing it on canvas. However, his battle with addiction had eroded his talent and ambition, leaving him a shadow of the man he once was. Despite this, Jessica had clung to the hope that she could save him, a hope that ultimately led to her undoing. In the end, Jessica's tragic flaw was not her intelligence or her capabilities, but her inability to let go of a toxic love. It was a lesson in how even the brightest minds can be clouded by the heart, leading them down paths of self-destruction. As I reflected on our time together, I realized that our marriage had been built on a foundation of illusions. She had seen in me a stability that contrasted with Michael's chaos, and I had seen in her a vibrancy that added color to my life. But when those illusions shattered, there was nothing left to hold on to. Now, as I look back, I see the ruins of what once was a promising life, not just for Jessica, but for us both. Her story is a reminder of the fragility of human relationships and the devastating power of misguided love.